Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. What are the economic impacts of claw health and what might that mean for sow farm profitability? Joining us today to talk about just that is Dr. Lucas Rodrigues, Zinpro swine discovery researcher. Welcome, Dr. Rodrigues. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Before we jump into our topic today, we'd like to invite those of you in our audience to post any questions you might have in the chat area on your screen. If you're joining us through social media, feel free to post your questions directly in your social channel. So, Dr. Rodrigues, what are the true economic costs of poor claw health on a sow farm, and where does it show up in the numbers?
Yeah, I think there's an important distinction that we should make here. So the differentiation between claw lesion and lameness, right? So claw lesion is basically the physical damage or the disease on the hoof, like abscess, cracks, ulcers, and so on. Lameness is, let's say, the resulting sign of pain, and then this will result in abnormal walking and so on. In a nutshell, the lesion, the claw lesion is the cause, and lameness is the effect, in simple terms. We've seen that poor claw health leads to reduced sow mobility, and these, of course, can lead to lameness. And lameness is one of the major factors involved in decreased sow longevity, meaning sows being removed from the herd early on. We also identified that some specific claw lesions, according to some of our data analysis, including heel overgrowth and erosion and white line lesions, are the main drivers of poor claw health in sows, including not only sows at purity 3, 4, 5, but also gilts as well. And I would say that answering your question, those claw lesions leading to lameness, they will show up as numbers by mainly impacting on sow longevity. So sows will face lower productivity, sows will face pain and discomfort, and by that, in many situations, they're going to be removed from the herd, and that will most likely impact on farm economics.
So how do claw lesions and lameness impact pigs born alive and pigs weaned per litter?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So we handle and analyze a data set coming from South American sow herds at Zinpro. And we have basically almost 15 years of data collection within that data set. And we started wondering, what is the true relationship between productivity, in this case, farrowing performance, and claw health? So we did some type of robust statistical analysis to uncover those factors, and it kind of reviewed that indeed there is an association. It is difficult at this point to imply causation, but there is an association between claw lesions and farrowing performance. We basically show that heel overgrowth and erosion and white line lesions are the most important lesions within farms in South America. And we also have been able to prove that in data sets coming from Europe, in data sets coming from the US. And these lesions, they are highly associated with a decrease in the number of pigs born alive, and by consequence, in the stillborn rate. And that dramatically impacts on the pigs weaned per sow per year. So in this large scale sow assessment, we've been able not only to identify these kind of biomarkers of poor claw health, these two factors associated with the deterioration of the claws, and that sows facing those lesions, they're most likely facing some issues with inflammation, oxidative stress that are leading to impairment in the farrowing performance.
So when structural issues drive early sow removal, what does that mean for replacement costs and lifetime pigs weaned?
Yeah, so basically, imagine that you have gilts arriving at the herd, and we expect that those gilts to be more productive when they reach parity 3, 4, 5, right? So in many situations, due not only to nutrition, but also management and housing conditions, these goats can start facing claw health and lameness issues early on in their lives. So these structural problems, they start to show up when they're goats. Since they face pain and since they face discomfort, and of course, all the inflammation and oxidative stress associated with these lesions, they have greater chances to be unsuccessful and to be removed from the herd early on. So we don't capture that value from that goat when these goats enter the herd and they don't have the opportunity to reach P3, P4, P5 and produce more piglets. So that leads to a higher sow turnover, as we name it, right? So you require more goat introductions to replace those goats that were removed because of treatment, because of pain, because of low productivity, and so on. And then I would say from the producer perspective, of course, you don't take that advantage that I just mentioned, the full genetic potential, the full reproductive potential of these mature sows. And then when you run your cost effectiveness within your herd, you're not in a good position.
Yeah, it all adds up. So you mentioned nutrition. How does nutrition influence claw integrity and in turn sow retention and that overall herd profitability?
Yeah, so alongside this analysis that we did in associating claw lesions with reproduction, and in the near future we plan on expanding this to longevity as well. We've been incorporating nutrition information, particularly trace mineral nutrition, and we have seen I would say in two fronts. The first one, definitely when you apply a proper trace mineral program early on, when you have the goats and you start supplementing good forms of zinc, of manganese, of copper especially, you improve that claw integrity. And this can start when you have goats, not only when they're sows. So you better develop and better prepare those claws for development and for the structural pressure that these sows are going to face. So trace mineral nutrition, I would say, is key for those sows. Alongside that analysis we did in performance, we basically saw a clear reduction in claw lesion severity. So in simple terms, improvements in claw health as a function of time on trace mineral program and claw lesion evaluation as well. So the evaluation on a routine basis is very important as well. Not only the right trace mineral program, and especially as we see sows being fed good trace mineral programs at the long term, let's say 2 years, 3 years on a product, you see clearly a stabilization of that plateau. You start to see a nice decrease in claw lesion severity, meaning an improvement in claw health until they reach a plateau. And past that plateau, you see a nice stabilization. So that claw health is maintained, and by consequence, you improve productivity and you increase your longevity, which is the long-term goal.
So how can proactively evaluating and addressing claw health improve ROI at the sow and at the farm level?
Yeah, that's a very important point, because we've seen, I just mentioned that we usually blame the sows, right? So we go to a parity 3, parity 5 sow and identify that sow having issues with claw lesions and lameness. But usually the problems, they start early on. So having routine claw health evaluation enables early identification of lesions. And early identification of lesions is key for attenuating severe lameness, for reducing removals due to claw lesions. And also, when you do early intervention, you reduce, for example, unplanned removals, right? You reduce the losses associated with productivity. I just mentioned that we uncovered the relationship between piglets born alive and claw lesions, right? So this is dramatically tied to severity. As you increase lesion severity, you decrease your productivity. So if you're able to detect that early on, you have more room for intervention. Also, obviously, if you're able to detect lesions early on, most likely you're not facing issues with reproductive performance and with the longevity, because usually the removals associated with claw lesions, uh, they are confined to sows facing very severe lesions. So we don't want that, right? So we want to better prepare gilts so they have a nice structure, they have attenuation of those claw lesions, and we prepare them to be successful sows down the road.
Now, Zinpro has a swine excellence index, and that's to evaluate claw health programs that producers can use to evaluate those programs. Talk to us about that and how nutritionists can use that program as well.
Yeah, so we developed the Zinpro Sow Excellence Index. We started talking about this 2 years ago, and basically the Zinpro Sow Excellence Index integrates 7 different types of lesions. It is kind of a visual scan of the foot, and then by that you are able to identify not only the different types of lesions but also the severity of those lesions. And then we standardize all those lesions in a comprehensive lesion index. This is the first step, let's say, in building the Sow Excellence Index. So identifying in a comprehensive manner, how does that claw health look like on a herd basis? It is interesting because the lesion scoring can be done quickly and can be incorporated on routine sow evaluations. So now we have farms in Europe, we have farms in Asia, we have farms in South America conducting these claw evaluations with the support of Zinpro representatives almost on a daily basis. So that improves as well the ability of the farm staff to perform the evaluations, which is pretty important for us. By doing that on a routine basis, we're basically able to identify sows with health risks in terms of food. And we also integrate all those findings to data-driven adjustments. So as I said, we incorporate data coming from the claws with data coming from reproduction, from nutrition. We put everything inside the same bucket and we generate insights back to the customers. Another interesting point of the Sow Excellence Index is that we have a specific benchmarking for each specific lesion, for the lesion index and for the reproduction. So basically we have some tools that the producer can utilize to understand where they sit in terms of productivity, in terms of claw health, in terms of longevity. So in a nutshell, I would say that the Zinpro Sow Excellence Index is a framework for evaluating not only claw health, but also integrating claw health in a holistic approach of reproduction, longevity, and overall health of the cell.
Always good to know where you're at as you move through the process of determining what to do. Anything you'd like to leave our audience with today? Where can they go to get more information?
Yeah, that's a good insight. I think the best way to go is to connect with our Zinpro specialists. They are pretty much everywhere in the world, so they can definitely help you with not only with the scoring, but also with presenting the Sow Excellence Index, presenting the tools we have available, and presenting them to all the projects we have going on right now, building on our data analysis capabilities. And at the end of the day, we basically want to solve those claw health problems to improve productivity and improve longevity. And they also can go to zinpro.com for more information. All the Zinpro Sow Excellence Index information is contained there as well.
Very good. Dr. Lucas Rodrigues of Zinpro, thank you for joining us here today.
I appreciate it, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Likewise, we appreciate all of you and our audience for tuning in. Until next time, for Feedstuffs, I'm Sarah Muirhead.